Joining me now is former federal prosecutor and former acting ICE director, Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in on this. You were actually a federal prosecutor in that office that indicted James. Your reaction?
Yeah, this is very interesting, and certainly the Democrats aren't saying no one is above the law today, but this is actually more interesting than I thought upon reading the indictment, because she did this, or allegedly claimed it was her residence, so she would get a favorable rate, and the amount of money she benefited from this is quite substantial. I believe it's about almost $19,000, so that's hardly insignificant. So this will be very interesting to play out, but it seems to me if she filled out these forms saying it's for one thing and then use it exclusively for another thing, which is as a rental property, and just simply did so to make money, I'm not sure what the defense will be. Maybe there is one, but it does seem this could be fairly clear cut. And interestingly about her statement and the other statements, they're not saying, hey, I didn't lie on the forum. They're just saying, the political stuff, which is, rich and ironic and everything else. But this does seem like it could be quite a clean case. If they prove she made the statements and prove she never lived there and just rented it out, or lived there for a certain period and then rented it out, I think she's got some problems.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, we go back to how Letitia James was trying so hard to, quote unquote, get Trump. And part of her efforts, I remember her saying she wanted to take away his property. I mean, that's why the Democrats are trying to, allege that this is some kind of retribution. But the facts are the fact. If she lied to a financial institution, if she lied in terms of these properties, then it's very hard to argue that. And despite all of her efforts to get Trump, this is about the law.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because the other side of it is, if they do have evidence that she committed these crimes, are they supposed to just walk away from it because they don't want to be accused of political retribution? So, but it is funny. She tried to ruin him financially, ruin his business, crush his employees as part of this orchestrated scheme to get him for political reasons. And remember, she ran on it. So it wasn't like, anyone could say hers was not political.
Absolutely. She absolutely ran on it. She said she was going to get Trump. That was all her campaigning for several months.
If I was the deep state and I wanted to destroy America, I would rig the election with a puppet candidate. One that was so compromised that they would never say a word about it. I would create a false flag that allows for mail-in ballots. I would be in charge of the ballot counting machines. I would create a false flag to blame all who question the results of the election. If I was the deep state, I would prosecute anyone that went against me. I would sue and prosecute anyone that spoke up about the fraudulent election. I would use my powers to shut down all your internet businesses and bankrupt you. If I was the deep state, I would make everyone an example why you should never question a Democrat ever winning an election. I would imprison my foes. I would use my corrupt DAs and blackmailed judges to destroy you. I would make sure all crimes I ever committed never happened. I would prosecute my biggest competition. I would make sure they could never run for office ever again. If I was the deep state, I would convince everyone that Ukraine Nazis were good and women are men. If I was the deep state, I would own every politician that mattered. If I was the deep state, I would push my pedophilia ambitions on you. If I was the deep state, you'd question your sexual identity but not the medical establishment. If I was the deep state, you would fear to ever resist me. If I was the deep state, you would wish I was really the devil. If I was the deep state, I would say mission accomplished.
You can't always tell everything that's going on right up front, because if you tell everything that's going on right up front, then your enemy is going to know exactly what you're doing.
I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
So yeah, we have a bigger issue than just Democrats. We have an issue of the American indoctrinated people that just let things like this go. It's been happening for years and years and years, and frankly, I'm sick of it. And so I'm just telling you, they're telling you, and they've been telling you this stuff in front of your face for a really long time.
Our own government working against us. I mean, We've always had the government working against us. We just didn't know it. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's April or June. I'm just reading your comments here. And I'm with you on that. Some of you guys wanted to know where I've been. My channel was banned. Okay, so YouTube just restored it, which is amazing in itself, because remember it wrote that they wrote that letter to Congress saying that they had banned people because of political reasons and from pressure from, whatever. That doesn't excuse them for demonetizing my channel, however. But anyway, that's another story. Yeah, Kim says, if I was the deep state, I'd own both sides. I agree, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Here's something interesting from Jamie. An attorney that does not understand the real fraud in the mortgage industry. By the way, I can see you guys on all of my YouTube channels. I can see you on Facebook, on X, and on Rumble, I believe, and also on Twitch. So if you want to make a comment, please feel free to do that. I may not be able to see you on Rumble, but I think I can. Oh, here's Josie. She says, yeah, apparently I did see you. She says, Letitia James indicted. I'm sure I'm here for that all day long. I'm so glad to see you back. Thank you. Here's the other thing about this, and somebody just pointed this out, that it was low-hanging fruit. I don't know that it's low-hanging fruit, but we're going to talk about not only Letitia James, because Letitia James is not the only one who is going to be indicted on mortgage fraud. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but what is the show with Tom Cruise? I'm pretty sure it's The Firm. The Firm. So here's all this corruption. You're going through this entire movie, and there's corruption everywhere. And the only thing that they finally found on these guys was to get them for mail fraud. Okay, so this is how well they cover up all their stuff. Want to say hi to Barb also. She's in the room. And Richard Reeves. How are you today? Shell Campbell is back, and Star. We've got Star in the room. Who else is here? Shay. Yep. Paula. Nice to see everybody. Hope I didn't miss anybody, but if I did miss you, I'm sorry. I can't look at all the comments all the time. So anyway, I want to play this other thing because this is interesting too, and this talks about other people that are involved. Well, let's play it in a minute. Let's talk about Letitia James for a minute. So Letitia James, you can read the indictment yourself if you want to. What's interesting about this indictment is, okay, you can't prove intent because you can't get inside the mind of someone else. If that person, hey Phil, nice to see you. If the person says something, that's one thing. Okay? But she's not saying that. Every single thing that she's going to come out and say, she's not saying anything about any of the charges. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. She's not coming out and saying that she didn't do all this stuff. Yeah, for sure. Brian, I hope you got my email the other day. She's not saying that. She's doing the same thing that Republicans, well, yeah, they do it too sometimes, but not nearly as much as Democrats do. All she's saying is this is a weaponization of the Justice Department. I'm like, excuse me, isn't that what you ran on, Letitia James? Weaponizing your office to target only one person. That's it. That's what Letitia James ran on. Getting Trump and Trump alone and taking all of his property. She orchestrated and got an indictment against Donald Trump, and what she did and what he did, two different things. Okay? If you read the indictment, every single one of the charges against her are her actually doing something, which is falsifying documents. She was falsifying documents herself. And it wasn't that she just made a mistake on one line. It was every single document that was involved in this transaction to get property that she said was her primary residence, which it was not. She also didn't tell them how many apartment buildings or apartment sections, whatever you want to call them, apartments were in her building. Oh, yeah. And she included her father on that. Didn't she say that they were married or something? Oh, check. Are you following, Letitia? I just want to know, are you following the example of your other Democrat colleague, Ilhan Omar, who married her brother? Yeah. Okay. Yes. See, Kim's saying, yeah, she checked the box that they're married. Now, I don't know about you, but see, here's the even bigger problem. Letitia James is an attorney. She's not just some rinky-dink low-life attorney that just was born yesterday, who's the bottom of the barrel attorney. Well, she is bottom of the barrel attorney as far as I'm concerned, but she's not in a position of bottom of the barrel attorney. She's not one of these low-life scumballs that comes after homeowners who aren't committing fraud. The mortgage company is committing fraud, and they send their worst out to try to get you. Okay. This is Letitia James committing mortgage fraud of her own, by her own hand, multiple times within the same transaction. You can't tell me that she didn't look over those documents with a fine-tooth comb and just put them in at all. Okay. She looked over those documents. She is a control freak. She is a narcissistic control freak. And I do not believe for 1 second that these people are elected, by the way. I know there's a group who sometimes feel like the majority who vote for these dumb people. There are some people who vote them, but I don't think it's ever a win. And here's why I think that. Every single time it's barely squeaking by. There's no landslides. Have you ever seen a Democrat landslide? I haven't. In my life, it's only been landslides towards the Republican. Why? Because the shady stuff that the Democrats do is so blatant. It's like if you are a criminal, you want to be a politician, all you have to do is go ask the Democrats, and they will make 10,000 excuses, circle around the wagons around you, and there you go. That's why they fought Trump every level. I know. They thought they would never get caught, let alone held accountable. Exactly. They didn't cover their tracks very well because they thought that, they're all in this circle. Now, when I say all in the circle, I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. I'm not talking about just Democrats themselves, because I do think that Republicans absolutely orchestrate the show when it's convenient for them. I don't think Donald Trump is allowing them to do that while he's in office, but they certainly do it. And they think that Donald Trump actually doesn't know what's going on, but he knows when to do something and when to let them do their own dirty work so that everybody can see. It's really not hard. All he has to do, if they start getting lax, he'll just poke them with a little stick and they'll go out and do it again. So it's not hard. Democrats are not hard. It's not hard to get politicians to say something stupid because they do it all the time. Yeah, it is the uniparty for sure. Absolutely. It's the uniparty. Art of the deal. Exactly. It is the art of the deal. That is for sure. So that being said, Letitia James, I do think she's going to have a defense for sure. I think she's absolutely going to put in a defense, and her defense is going to be that it wasn't her intent. She didn't really know what she was doing as far as filling out all these papers. She's going to have some kind of defense for sure. As far as the intent and knowledge, see, with Trump, he was overseeing his entire empire, if you want to call it that way. When he went out and he got a loan, okay, she should know. She made her bed. Now she will lie in it. I hope so. When Trump was getting his loan from the bank came out and did the evaluation himself. I know. Can you even believe it? She didn't even address that. Daddy was her husband on her paperwork. Yeah, she didn't even address that. I'm surprised one of the reporters didn't say, Letitia James, Letitia, excuse me. On those papers, you put your father as your husband. Why did you do that? Why? She used taxpayer dollars to pay her defense. I know. I got 2 judges that are trying that right now, using taxpayer dollars in Texas and in Florida to defend judges and themselves. It's like, that's not going to fly. We already put in motion to strike, but here's what I expect. Because remember, it's all rigged. The court system is rigged. It's all rigged. Because who owns it? The Bar Association. Should they own it? No. The American people should own the justice system, but we don't. Because we had, a long time ago, leadership who sold us down the river so that the Bar Association could take over the entire justice system and install politicians where they wanted, install judges where they wanted, make laws that they wanted, because remember, the laws are for you, not for them. And so the entire thing is totally corrupt. It's up and down the board. And to sit there and continually be subjected to the criminality of a judge who refuses to go by their own laws and put motion after motion after motion in front of that judge, that's corrupt. Expecting the judge to do anything else but be a criminal is stupid. Because then after you get all the documentation of the judge being a crook, and you turn it into the DOJ, you turn it into the FBI, you turn it into their oversight committees who do nothing. They'll send you back a letter. I don't have any jurisdiction over this. Okay. Your last resort is to take it to the crooked news outlets. So what I would be doing is I would be putting it out there. Yes, I would be doing press releases, but I would also do press releases to the independent media who can put it online for you. Yeah, it's an entire cult. Kim is right. These cults cover for each other. You know, if you read the book, A Creature from Jekyll Island, it literally tells you how cartels work together. But see, the thing about the cartels is they don't like each other either. They know they have to work together to get something done. But once that thing is done, they're going to be working against each other to see who is king in the end. So they're going to destroy their own selves. I mean, that is going to happen. So I want to get into this video here. He's going to be talking about some other people that are involved in mortgage fraud besides Adam Schiff, because you guys probably heard that. It's also Lisa Cook. Do you know who Lisa Cook is? And this is so bizarro world. I don't think we could make this stuff up. It's so bizarro world. Lisa Cook was on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors and was recently fired. So she's going to be whining soon too, because an indictment is coming out for her too. But I want you to listen to Maria Bartiromo and Bill Pultz, I think is his name is. Bill Pulte.
Now the head of the U.S. Federal Housing FHFA Director and Fannie Mae Chairman, Bill Pulte. Bill, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Always good to see you.
I want to get your take on all of the news and, of course, that criminal referral that you sent over Lisa Cook and others on mortgage fraud. But first, talk.
Now, see, this is so interesting to me. He made a criminal referral against Lisa Cook.
Talk to us about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What is President Trump looking to do with these mortgage originators, enormous companies?
Well, the president did something great, if you recall, in his first term, and that is doing nothing. Everybody wanted to basically steal this company from the American taxpayers, and President.
Now, remember when I told you that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and Ginnie Mae, those are all HUD HUD covers. They're covers for HUD. So when he's telling you that the American people own that stuff, it's true. So here they take the mortgages and they put them in these pools, and then it's going to be Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, somebody in the federal government. It's going to be owned by the government. Okay. It's your note that you wrote that you signed is going to be turned from a debt instrument to an asset of the American people, put into pools where you are funding your own mortgage. It's paid off within 21 to 30 days. He's literally telling you you own your own stuff.
Trump deserves great credit for saying, no, thank you. We are going to do what's in the best interest of people. Maria, he got approached rather to sell these companies for about $100 billion, if you can believe that, $150 billion. Today,
which isn't even, that's a drop in the bucket. That's like one pool, one mortgage pool.
That value is worth anywhere between 500 and 700 billion. I think it's going to $1 trillion and potentially even higher. So President Trump has exercised great judgment, and he'll exercise, in my view, that same judgment in deciding whether or not to do something with regard to Fannie and Freddie.
If you guys actually went and got the QSIP number, and I have a QSIP guy, he's a Series 7 broker, and he can get the numbers on each person's mortgage. If you saw how much money was attached to your one mortgage, you would know that figure that he knows is super low. But he also knows that your head would explode if you knew the real figure. That each one of the mortgages, the mortgage pools, which there's, I couldn't even begin to tell you how many mortgage pools are. I'm sure that's in the billions. But he knows that figure, if you timed $1 billion by how many pools there really are, your head would explode. Because it's not only just the mortgages, it's the car loans, it's the credit cards, it's the HELOCs, it's the refinancing, it's the reverse mortgages. Every one of those things are in these mortgage pools that are owned by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, Remic, all of them. And you actually own it.
Well, this is a big story. A lot of our viewers want to know about it. Investors love these companies because they're incredibly important. What are we talking about? $7 trillion in assets between the two companies' balance sheets?
Yeah, 7.8 trillion, and it's going higher. And frankly, it's going to continue to go higher. These are, in my view, in terms of assets, the biggest companies in the world, these two biggest companies. And no other president until President Trump showed up on the scene even knew that they existed. Biden didn't really know anything existed. He certainly didn't know Fannie and Freddie existed. We came in, there were 16,000 people working from home. We ordered them all back to work. We're getting the earnings going. Money's pouring in like never before. And it's all because President Trump is making this a priority.
And has the president decided on the lead banker to take these companies public once again? Is it going to be a $30 billion IPO?
He has not made any decisions. That will be on his own time, in his own way, in his own form. And I would defer to the president on what or if he wants.
I'm going to be interested to see how this affects every single person's mortgage, because it's really, I think this is set to affect people's mortgages, where kind of like the debt forgiveness thing.
To do anything here. This is entirely up to him. He has the best instincts, frankly, of anybody I've ever met. And I've met a lot of really successful people. So I'm going to rely on his instincts. If he says go, we'll go. But that's entirely up to the president.
When would a deal be happening? Later this year?
We'll see. Again, that's entirely up to the president. I think we have a bunch of different options. I would say this. The demand for this product, the demand for this deal is so significant. The president has had, and we have had, banks calling us. They're still calling us. I mean, you could have all of the banks in the world want this deal. So we'll see what happens, but it's got to be done if it's done on the president's terms, and I'm very confident it will be.
If the banks don't say yes, then what's going to happen is that bank is going to be destroyed. Because if he does what I think he's going to do and turns this back over to the people, and the people start investing in their own stuff, that means that people are going to understand that their mortgages are frauds. They're going to understand that. right away. Thanks, Kim. Nice to see you. And Richard asked a question. He said, what about paid off mortgages? You can get the QSIP on that mortgage because it's still going. You think it's not, but it's still going. You can get the QSIP number on that mortgage and trace the paper trail, and you will see the date that it was paid off, when it was securitized, when it was turned from a debt instrument to a credit instrument as an asset, because that is the only way that the investors will invest in that mortgage-backed securities, is if those mortgage notes that you're signing are turned into securities. There is never, I bet you every single person in this room would tell me that they did not get a check to them in their name, and then they issued a check to the other party, but for their house, their car, their whatever. Okay. If you tell me that you got a check, I guarantee it was not written to you. It was written to the other person. You may have carried that from one location to the other. That makes you a courier. It does not make you getting anything. Okay. Those loans are made solely on your signature. No money is changing hands like you think it is. And they are taking those signatures and they're securitizing those signatures, and they're making that an asset on their books. So if you think it's any other way, you are sorely mistaken. And in the SEC filings, which is the Securities Exchange Commission filings, it absolutely tells you what they're doing with that mortgage and turning it from a debt instrument to a credit instrument. You can use those things against them. Now, TILA, which is Truth in Lending, tells you that if you sue them and you win, which is going to be a fight, you will get 3 times the face value of that mortgage plus all the money that you paid. So if you paid that mortgage in full, I mean, think how much money that is. That's crazy. That is crazy.
And frankly, I think it's going to be oversubscribed.
Yeah, no, and I know that executives from Bank of America and
People
Citi and
understand
JP Morgan have been in the Oval Office trying to get this business. But I want to talk about the scandals that we're talking about as well today, because we are now looking at 10 years of scandals against President Trump. We're going to get to Lisa Cook and potential mortgage fraud in a moment, but it started with Russia collusion, went into impeachments, indictments, even January 6th, according to Ed Martin at the DOJ. And here's what Ed Martin told me yesterday. Got to get your take on this. Watch.
Crazy.
And there's a group of us working on January 6th. What we've learned is that the federal government, the Department of Justice, but other aspects, targeted these citizens. They basically turned government on to make the hoax work. So I'm not talking about somebody that pushes a cop. That's a charge you can look at in charge. I'm talking about that the FBI and others were putting American citizens on terrorism watch lists. They were auditing their IRS tax returns. They were targeting the American people. They were taking massive amounts of resources and moving them from fighting, child trafficking and fighting real corruption and saying we have to move everybody to look at the Capitol siege. It was a political hoax that was driven by Garland, Lisa Monaco, and others. There's a guy named Robert Jackson, who is the prosecutor guy. And what you see is Lisa Monaco's Justice Department acting in ways we've never seen before. This is and when we show all that, and we're writing reports regularly on it, it's not one aspect. The federal court system was used in a way. The jails were used in a way to punish people. It's foreign. They didn't do this to the terrorists after 9/11, and they were doing it to American citizens.
What about the January 6th committee? Did they destroy evidence? Is there criminality there?
Of course. Of course, we're all in that too, and trust me, a lot of people did not get a pardon that were involved in the select committee, and they ought to be keeping an eye on their mailbox, because there's a lot to be asked about.
I mean, Director, what they did here was put people who were going and, peacefully protesting against the election on no-fly lists. And the DOJ did nothing about it. It feels like you finally have some resources. You've sent several criminal referrals. All the while, we actually may have witnessed mortgage fraud. Tell me about the criminal referral that you sent to the DOJ over Lisa Cook. What did she do specifically, Bill?
Well, Lisa Cook has big problems. They're going to continue to get bigger. Her statements that she made last night, I think, only make her situation worse. It's very odd to see people try to twist back ways, sideways, and upside down to justify mortgage fraud. This is a very serious crime. Mortgage fraud, It carries up to 30-year prison sentences. I believe the president has.
Now, see, this is coming from the side of the consumer. But every single solitary day, the mortgage servicers, the mortgage industry commits fraud. So this guy, this Bill Pulte, is the guy you write the complaint to. And don't think he's not going to have letters on his desk this coming week from my clients.
Ample cause to fire Lisa Cook. Whether he wants to do that or not is entirely up to the president. However, we will go where mortgage fraud is. If mortgage fraud is with a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. If you commit mortgage fraud in President Trump's America, we're going to come after you.
Now, I hope I'm going to use that statement against him, because I'm going to say, you said on national TV that if you commit mortgage fraud, you were going to be prosecuted. Okay. Does that include the mortgage companies who are committing the mortgage fraud, the judges who are committing mortgage fraud and facilitating it, the lawyers and the law firms that are also committing mortgage fraud into a RICO case against you? That's what I want to know from this guy.
And Lisa Cook is no exception to that. I've also been very surprised, Maria, I would say, with the lack of response and the mismanagement, the continued mismanagement by Jay Powell throughout all of this. You know, you would think when there's an alleged crime that somebody would be able to handle things properly. But unfortunately, I think Jay Powell is actually walking himself into this whole situation. He used the federal spokespeople last night, the Federal Reserve spokespeople, to circulate her statement. I don't know why anyone would support somebody having and declaring on a mortgage contract that they have two primary residences. That is fraud, and we are going to prosecute it, and I hope that the DOJ will take it very seriously.
You know what else is fraud, Mr. Pulte? When the company tells you on the very first line of the contract that they're loaning you a specific amount of money, and as they're loaning that to you, you agree that you're going to pay this, and they never loan you anything. That's mortgage fraud too. So is it mortgage fraud when they sell your note and they put it into a pool and securitize it. The investors pay it off, and then the only thing that's kept, read their Security Exchange Commission filings, is the servicing rights, and the servicing rights are connected to a debt that doesn't exist. And why doesn't it exist? Because they changed it from a debt to an asset. So you cannot have both. You cannot have a note that is a debt and a asset at the same exact time. That's where the mortgage fraud is. That's why it's a RICO case. It is facilitated by the attorneys and it is facilitated by the judges. Absolutely. I hope you're telling us the truth, because we're going to hold you to it.
So, according to mortgage documents, you write to the DOJ, to Pam Bondi, that Lisa Cook falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms?
Well, of course, you can't declare that in her case, she had a home in Michigan, and then 2 weeks later, she gets a loan in Michigan for her home. She declares it as her primary principal residence, and then literally 2 weeks later, she goes to an Atlanta condo, buys an Atlanta condo, secures a loan, and also declares that as her primary residence. We all know primary or principal, that means one. That means the lead dog. That means what house are you living in? And in this case, we have a Federal Reserve governor who's in charge of setting interest rates, running this entire economy, right hand to Jerome Powell, committing, in my view, mortgage fraud. This can't happen. I think it gives the president enormous cause to fire her. I think she will resign. Frankly, I think she's very stupid if she doesn't resign.
Well, President Trump posted on Truth Social.
There was a day in broadcasting that you didn't call people stupid. You didn't use the word dumb or stupid or any of that. And, it's just come to the point in time where there's just no other word for it.
Lisa Cook should resign. Bill, of course, this is on the heels of your referral. You listed in that referral how she listed two different homes as her primary residence. In a 2-week period, you also sent criminal referrals over others. Now, Cook responded. She says, I have no intention of being bullied to step down. I am gathering accurate information to answer any legitimate questions, Bill. Is that the statement you're referring to, saying that that's not adequate?
Well, not only is that not accurate, I mean, first of all, intention of being bullied. The question for Ms. Cook is very simple. Did you sign these mortgage documents? Of course she did. And then on top of that, did she also declare primary residency in both Michigan and Atlanta?
This is the same exact question for Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, Lisa Cook, and Letitia James, and there's other people, but I don't know who they are because he said there was more, are doing the same exact thing. It is a Democrat playbook to continue to do this. And so when they say that it's a witch hunt, Donald Trump is targeting his enemies, he's coming after them because they went after him, it's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with the people who are really committing the fraud. Yeah, see, it is always something to me when the bully, the person who is the actual bully, when you stand up to the bully, starts calling you the bully, as if there's some kind of victim, after they have been the one who is victimizing all these other people.
The answer is yes. So, she can play this all she wants, but, people are smart. And I'll tell you this right now. This is like the most viral story in the country right now. People are sick and tired of one rule for certain people and another rule for other people. And it's got to stop. And I think it's going to stop with the Federal Reserve governor. And frankly, I would be surprised if she's not suspended by the Federal Reserve this week. I mean, why are they going into Jackson Hole talking about this nonsense? This is supposed to be the biggest week for the economy. And here we've got this circus clown running around saying that she's being bullied when really.
I just have to laugh because so many times as a professional reporter for ABC News and things like that, I wanted to say that so bad. But when I got my own private podcast, I said stuff like that. And I got banned for bullying and harassment for saying that stuff, which is exactly, number one, the truth, and number two, exactly what they're saying on mainstream news.
She was committing mortgage fraud.
Well, I mean, you also sent criminal referrals to others. Do you have grand juries in place for this, for Lisa Cook, for Adam Schiff?
Well, we send criminal referrals all the time. That's what's funny about this is people are saying, oh, well, this is selective. No, it's when we get mortgage fraud, we are going to prosecute it. And we are not prosecutors. So what we are going to do is we're going to refer that to the DOJ. Maria, I refer people almost every day to the Department of Justice for mortgage fraud. Why should Lisa Cook be exempt from that? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And whether it's Adam Schiff or Letitia James or, frankly, any other Republican, if you commit mortgage fraud, there should be consequences. This risks the rule of law. This risks the integrity of the institution that we have. This risks the safety and soundness of the mortgage bond market. We can't have that. We either have to have a safe and sound bond market that everybody agrees to certain rules.
Oh, but we don't agree to the rules because we didn't even know what the rules were. Did we? Did we know that we were signing pieces of paper, that we weren't actually getting any money? Did we know that they were going to securitize this and make us pay for it also? Did we know that they were going to try to make it so that they could come after our homes after it's already paid off? Did we know that the HOA was going to try to put a lien on your home for like $800, $200, $2,000, $3,000 and try to take your home away from you? No, we did not know any of those things. We didn't know that on the day it was securitized, that the loan was actually paid off. We didn't know any of that stuff. We didn't even know that credit doesn't mean squat. We didn't know that. Do you know what credit means? It only means, are you going to pay this back or are you not? It has nothing to do with whether or not the money goes from one side to the other, because it does.
Or we have to have this mayhem where a Federal Reserve.
Richard's right. We also didn't know we were doing any kind of power of attorney away on any of the loans whatsoever, so that they could add things to the note like allonges, which they are now admitting they do.
Reserve governor can say that she's outside of the law. No one is above the law.
Well,
no one is above the law.
From the DOJ over the
that includes cops, judges, prosecuting attorneys, and attorneys. Remember that, because if you don't push against them, then they will win.
Weekend when I spoke with him is that when you get a criminal referral, it opens the door to actually investigate what is going on here. And he said when you're lying about one thing, you're often lying about something else. When you're committing a crime here, you might be committing a crime there. So it opens up a bit of a Pandora's box.
Well, Maria, I'll tell you something that we haven't really discussed publicly, and that is we're also probing her Massachusetts property. You know, these are things where you get a tip in and then all of a sudden you learn that they have another loan here, another loan there. And it's concerning because, as you know, I oversee not just Fannie and Freddie, but also oversee the Federal Reserve home loan banks. And one of the banks that's involved in this investigation, unfortunately, is a member bank of the Federal Home Loan Banks. I am the regulator. President Trump, under President Trump's leadership, I am the regulator. So I have a duty to do this. When I got Senate confirmed, I swore in my testimony that I would oversee mortgage fraud. So we're going to go wherever the facts are. We're going to turn that over to the DOJ. And if they decide to impanel a grand jury on this, which I believe that they will, I believe that the DOJ will open up an investigation in this. I think it's just a stain on the Fed. And I think it's very disrespectful both to the country, to the president, and frankly, even to the Federal Reserve, for this lady to stay in office.
Well, look, grand juries, what is this going to take, 18 months or something? I mean, when you get a criminal referral, this could go on now for a year. No?
No. I mean, you can move very quick. I mean, look, this is a black and white situation from my perspective. It's either did she sign these documents or, you know, it's funny is they tried to go after President Trump on, you know, complete nonsense. He was totally innocent. In this case, you see these signatures. Did you sign this document or did you not? And, you know, she can say whatever she wants, but at the end of the day, the facts speak for themselves. And I'll tell you, this is the hottest story in the world right now, Maria, for the very reason that people get it. You can't go and fraudulently represent things that aren't true in order to.
The reason this is the hottest story in the world is not because of Letitia James or Lisa Cook or any of these people. It's because most people have some kind of a mortgage or loan, and they're like, are you seriously kidding me right now?
Procure a loan. And the elites and the wealthy class, this is why President Trump won in a landslide, because the people are sick and tired of this crap.
Yeah. But putting mortgage fraud aside, I mean, President Trump has issues with just the ineptitude of the Fed. The president has accused Chairman Jay Powell of hurting the housing industry. He said this on Truth Social. Could somebody please inform Jerome Too Late Powell that he is hurting the housing industry very badly? People can't get a mortgage because of him. There is no inflation, and every sign is pointing to a major rate cut. Bill, if we were to see a rate cut next month, the president will obviously, you know, be able to say, look, I told you so. But are we talking about a bloated situation regardless of whether we're getting cuts at all? They put all that money into the new headquarters. I was told, I'm about to interview Christine Lagarde at the European Central Bank, and I'd like to know how different the ECB is to the Fed. I mean, the Fed has how many branches? How many offices? How much money spent?
Well, it's crazy, but first I want to just distinguish, Maria. First, I just want to distinguish, Maria, if this is okay. I want to put the regulator hat and the other hat aside with regard to Lisa Cook, because obviously those are alleged crimes. So let's shift into the political side of things. I think those are very important to keep different. As it relates to the political side of things and as it relates to policy, which is what you're talking about in terms of interest rates, he has gotten this so wrong that I'm very concerned with the damage that it's doing to the housing market. And I think it will do damage to the housing market for up to 2 years after he's gone. So time is of the essence with regard to cutting these rates. We've already seen home builders laying off people. We've seen home builders restrict supply. This may be in the best interest of home builders, but it's not in the best interest of Americans. The interest rates need to be at 1%. And frankly, I hope that whoever becomes Fed chair takes them down to 1%, if not lower. We have a president who's extremely competent. The president is unlike Biden. Biden didn't even know what inflation was. This president came in and crushed inflation. So you have a president that will continue to crush inflation. He will continue to keep inflation low. Rates need to be at 0 or 1% at the highest.
Yeah, well, you don't see a lot of that in the mainstream media, that's for sure.
She's right. See, that's the whole thing about these mortgages. So on both sides, it's like there's fraud on both sides, not by you and I, but by the power defrauding each other, and then the mortgage companies coming along and defrauding you again. It is absolutely outrageous. So here we have someone who is the Attorney General of New York who is committing mortgage fraud. We have Lisa Cook, Federal Reserve Board of Governors, committing mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff, House Representative, committing mortgage fraud. I don't know how many more people there are, but he said we do criminal referrals against mortgage fraud every single day. Every single day, he said. So this is not out of the ordinary for him to do, okay? The only thing that's out of the ordinary here is the fact that the people who are higher ups committing the crimes are finally getting something done to them. Now, I'm just telling you right now, the way these mortgages work is already a crime. Now, I said earlier that your credit doesn't really matter. It's just about how likely you are to pay. If you watch the movie The Big Short, it tells you right in there exactly what they're doing. So if you have, there's 3 basic groups of credit, okay? There's people who pay, and that's high. They have high credit scores. Those are the people that pay back all the time. You know, maybe once in a while they might have something that goes wrong, but they mostly pay all the time. Then you have the mid-range, where sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't. They have a more likely chance of paying this back, supposedly back. And then you have the low credit scores, which are below prime, and they probably won't pay back. But the investors don't care. And here's why they don't care. And the only thing your credit is doing is saying, which pool are you in? That's it. Because they're getting insurance on each one of those. So your mortgage is in an insurance pool also. So if you don't pay it, it's already paid. Remember a long time ago when you guys it used to be where you were supposed to take out the mortgage insurance. Well, that doesn't happen anymore because people would opt out of the mortgage insurance. They can't afford that. They need you to have the mortgage insurance. So now they're putting it on auto. So it's included in your loan. And if you don't get it, they will. And the reason is because if you default, the insurance pays. Why are we foreclosing on people that their mortgages are already paid, not once, but twice? I mean, that's just twice that I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the investors buy it, paid off. When the insurance pays it, paid off. So they don't really care one way or the other. They just want to know how much insurance to put on it. That's the scam. And you guys don't even know it. You think that when you go and you sign something, you're actually getting money. But that's not what's happening at all. What's actually happening is they're taking that piece of paper, okay? They take it over the Federal Reserve discount window. And guess what? Guess what the Federal Reserve discount window says the definition of borrower and banker and bank is. The borrower is the financial institution that has the agreement with the Federal Reserve discount window. The bank is the Federal Reserve. That's who the borrower is, and the bank. So they take this paper over there. They take this paper over there. And they make it an asset. And guess what else? The Federal Reserve Act says that they have to have 100% collateral in order to make a loan. They don't have that. They're getting it from you again because it's just book entries. So they're just making it up. So they say, okay, you give me your social security number, and we're going to use that social security number and that little account of credits that you got there, and we're going to do some fancy accounting here, and we're going to miraculously make the same amount of money credits that is on that note there, and we're going to take that out and make it into a pool over here for 100% credit. So that's 2 times. Once when they securitize it, twice when they put it over there on that that pool. So who's paying the seller? You are. You're paying them again. So that's 3 times. Then they ask you to pay it. So that's 4 times. Then they put it in the pool and they get the insurance on it. That's 5 times. So that's what I'm saying. Why are we doing this? Yeah, and Kim's right. She says, meanwhile, our money in the bank is an IOU. Yeah, it's just a promise to pay later. We are paying at least twice on everything. Every single thing. Every single thing. What did you say here? I want to say what Shay has. I was holding out for the interest rate to go down to repair hurricane damage. Insurance didn't cover. I had an electrical fire. I had to suck it up to get the house rewired. That's terrible. Terrible. And people wonder why we're in debt. And they're really not in debt. They're really not in debt. Guess who's in debt to you? The mortgage company. Guess who else is in debt to you? The Federal Reserve. Guess who else is in debt to you? The national debt. All that stuff is stuff you created. You created that. There was something else I saw. If the mortgage and in a pool, the pooling and servicing agreement also has insurance in the mortgage. Yes, that's true. I saw something else here. I thought it was about somebody's mother. He says, oh, here it is. My mother literally faces foreclosure, but she's filed a case and it's currently being held off. But oh boy, the fight is not easy. It's not easy. See, that's what I help people with every day is this mortgage stuff. Why don't you ever see a bank fail? You do see a bank fail. You see bank fails when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Like, oh, too many people are catching on. Got to put that one under and we'll pop them up over here like a furniture store. Yes, I am back on YouTube. They decided they were going to take out my channel for over a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the debt is what's owed to the people. The people are not the ones who owe the debt. The other side owes it to you. You're the credit. You're always the credit. You've always been the credit. And until people start getting that through their head, it's going to continue like this. To me, it's just totally unbelievable that people are still doing this. Aren't mortgages and most other things prepaid anyway? Yes, everything's prepaid because we don't have any money. And when we say prepaid, it's kind of prepaid because remember, every single thing is an IOU. Every single thing. It doesn't matter whether it's the money in your pocket or whatever. It's all an IOU. It's a promise to pay in the future because there's nothing backing the dollar. The dollar, according to modern money mechanics, which is written by the Federal Reserve, the only thing that money's value is what people think it is, which that doesn't say a whole lot about the money, just so you know. That being said, I do want to tell you, and what was interesting about this is it came up right after I wrote this book. So for those of you who don't know, I wrote this book. All right. It's called The Foreclosure War. All right. So this book comes in 3 volumes altogether, 888 pages. Okay. So this first part tells you exactly what to do, the procedure. Step-by-step initial court response. It has strategies in here because some of you guys don't even know this. And it is ridiculous. And Texas is one of the biggest problems. Okay? There are states, and mine is one of them, that do not go through a judicial process to take your stuff. It's an administrative process. It's called a non-judicial foreclosure state. And so that company who has no standing whatsoever to take your property, will file some papers that you don't know about. They say you do, but you don't. You don't know. And they will get an administrative judgment on you. And the next thing you know, you've got a sale paper on your door, if you even get that, because a lot of them won't even give you that. And they sell your house at an auction. And the next thing you know, a sheriff is coming over telling you, get the hell out. It's like, what? What? Excuse me? This is my house. You didn't know anything was even going on. All right? That is unacceptable. It's also unconstitutional. It's against your due process. It's against your Fourth Amendment because you're supposed to be securing your property. You're not. I wish I had the money. And yes, Missouri is non-judicial. That's the other way we're dealing with. No cell paper, just text message. That's so inappropriate. Text messages are inappropriate communication. You should be pushing back against that. Okay, so anyway, I wrote this book because I didn't have time to represent everybody. So I wrote this book. This first one is like procedure. The second one is documents. So it's got documents in here that you can use as a guideline so that you can write a qualified written request, because you got to. You got to. If you don't name it qualified written request, I literally have a judge right now who is, because the letters that the person made, I didn't write the suit. The person made didn't put qualified written request on the top. He's kicking it out. Well, you didn't write a qualified written request to the company. It's like, whoa, what? So they're taking that out. But this has qualified written request in it. It also has the administrative process that you do on them. It also has a criminal complaint that you can file with your sheriff's department and everybody else. Okay. It has a federal lawsuit. If you model it after a federal lawsuit, you can also do the local lawsuit, which is district court. Because right now the courts are shut down. Don't know if you know that or not. Federal courts are shut down. Nothing happening. So you may have to go through a district court right now to get a sale stayed and with an emergency TRO, again, in the book. So what I did, and this is pretty good as far as I'm concerned, you could use ChatGPT and this. If you do try to use ChatGPT to answer a lawsuit or to do anything with a lawsuit, you're going to be screwed because you don't know the procedure. And I have people email me all day long that say, I use ChatGPT to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it shows. It shows one that you used it, ChatGPT, but it shows also that you're just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it will stick. You have to be strategic. You're playing chess. You can't just move pieces around the board and expect to win. Although you are playing against a person, most likely, who is the attorney, who is stupid. That is true. Because they get the lowest guy on the totem pole to do these. Anyway, so this is $450 for the whole thing. And I help you. And I help you without having to have extra purchases of some kind of time to do a Zoom if I got to do that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? So I tried to do my best with 888 pages. The third book is the state book. So any state that you have, this comes with it. You can look, New Hampshire, it's got all of the statutes that have to go with the mortgage stuff, what they're supposed to be doing. You can look this up and you can use them in your filings. So to go it on your own is really hard. You're not going to find an attorney for less than probably $10,000 to take your case. And if they say it's less, it's going to be $5,000 to take your case. They'll start it. They'll do billable hours. And the next thing you know, you're in for $5,000 and then you're going to use out another $5,000 and another $5,000 and another $5,000. And in the end, they'll do nothing for you. Just ironic that the government can just take my property without due diligence. I know. That's why you have to sue them in federal court, because they're due process violations, they're RICO violations, they're fraud, they're committing securities fraud. See, this not only is Letitia James a problem, okay? It's the mortgage company is a problem. Now, if she's smart, she would go after the mortgage company, not Donald Trump and all this other stuff. She'd go after them for the fraud that they're doing. But she's probably not very bright. Speaking of, yeah. So she probably doesn't even know how banking works. I told my previous mortgage company I want my hurricane damage money they were holding. She said it would take 30 days. I asked why. She said they don't have it and it would take 30 days to get it. Yeah, that's probably right. That's probably right. So, they're getting securities fraud, contract fraud, mortgage fraud, mail fraud, insurance fraud, wire fraud. It's a RICO issue, a TILA issue, and a RESPA issue. So every single time I write a suit for for my clients, we have at least 15 causes of action that are valid and that we can prove. Okay. You should be pulling the Securities Exchange Commission information from your mortgage servicer, because the servicer only has servicing rights to service a debt, and the debt doesn't exist. Yeah, I know who Heather Tucci is. I don't know what happened to her. Last thing I knew, she was in jail, but I don't know if she still is. It's been years ago, so I don't know. Told her it's my money and I need it now. That reminded me of that commercial. It's my money and I need it now. The Franchise Tax Board waited 9 months to tell me that they didn't receive my payment. Now they're adding interest in penalty. That is unacceptable. You should be doing something against these people. You should always be doing something against these people. Did she have any valid points? I don't know. I mean, Heather Tucci was one of those people who wanted to be queen of the world. So, yes, she had valid points. Yes, she understood what was going on, that there's a separation there. But the problem is the way she implemented it. And she is an attorney, so she should be able to know. Who knew the minute we started looking for a house, it was actually a pyramid scheme? Exactly. Nobody knew. We're not taught that. Our parents aren't taught that. People pay off their mortgages and they have mortgage burning parties and stuff like that. And they're like, yay, we got the deed. Okay, I'll tell you, the mortgage companies do not have the deed. They don't have the note, the original wedding signature note. And if they do, it's a credit now. And they don't have an unbroken chain of title. Those are the three things you need to foreclose on someone. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you learned something. If you want to get a hold of me and you want to talk about your mortgage, you want to do something about loans, you got some news, whatever it is, something that you think is pertinent, interesting, that things people need to know, please get a hold of me. I will be more than happy to help you with whatever it is I can, or refer you to someone who will.